2025 marks the 11th year of Destiny 1's release. Even though it wasn't technically released until September, it's been a little over a decade since this game came out. Bungie's golden child and the successor to the throne that was Halo, it is easy to look back and think about the good old days, and obviously the debate between the two game titles is one of those that I'm not going to get into today. But I do want to go back, talk about the beginnings of Destiny. Its sequel, D2, has been kind of getting old, get into that stage in the DLC content where it's getting kind of boring. People are leaving the game, which is obviously nothing new, but I've hopped on D1, man, and since September, I've kind of jumped on the nostalgia ship, and I have been enjoying it, to say the least. I want to talk about, D1 in 2025. Is it viable? Is it fun? Is it playable? Is it dead? What's all going on? Let's get into it, guys. Let's take a little journey back in time, 2014 to 2016. That may seem like a lifetime for some of you. For me, it was just the, peak of my life. I was in high school, playing football, driving fast cars, talking to all the attractive women, working out, had a few cares in the world. I can't say no cares, but it's, like those stories. Back in my day, I had not a care in the world, but I did have some. I can't remember what they were, so they must not have been important, but I did have some. Vibes were immaculate. Let's just say that. Destiny was at its peak. I was at my peak. I was having fun, man, and it was a great time. This game touched so many people's lives, man. I see that clearly every day because people literally hop on every day. Every time I hop into the tower, it's almost full. There's a ton of people still playing D1. And that's one of the first pros or good things about this game now that I'm going to get into. It's really, really fun to see a community that is as diehard as this community is. And some people have never left. And it's just awesome to see. Getting into more pros, there is plenty of PvE activities to do. So nightfalls, strikes, challenge or prison of elders, raids, high and low level, as well as daily story missions. Fill your screen when you load into the destinations tab. I will say it seems just so much more simple than D2, man. There's just so much going on in that game that it's kind of intimidating. Like if you haven't logged into Destiny 2 in like a month, you hop on, there's like 40 notifications, 40 quests, every single destination's lit up for you to do stuff on. Like it's insane. And it's, for me personally, I'm not complaining about content, but a lot of the content feels the same. And it just, for me, it's like, where do I even start? So in Destiny 1, you kind of have the reverse of that. Like unless you were, or you are a noob or a newbie, there's 4 or 5 things for you to do a week. And it's manageable enough to keep you busy, but it's not like overload, but it's not like I'm bored either. So I like that. I think it's kind of just a nice balance. And another thing, like if you have never played D1, the Dark Below and the House of Wolves, each expansion kind of added stuff for you to do, but there wasn't. In the Dark Below, you had the Vault of Glass, you had Crota's End, and you had the Nightfall. And that's really all that you had to do. And then you just went into the Crucible. And there was Iron Banner, but there wasn't Trials of Osiris yet either in the Dark Below. So you were, there's never been in Destiny 1 more to do. So you have all 4 of the expansions and all, those raids, the Challenge of the Elders, all that stuff you can do in 1 week. And it resets for you to do the next week. So if you haven't played D1, this would be my recommendation, is to try it out, man. Hop on it. It's $20. $20. And you can have all the DLCs, play everything, as long as you've got somebody to play it with. I'm putting that as a pro. Another pro in this game, the raids themselves. The mechanics are still fun. It's easier than D2 in most of these raids too, if I'm being totally honest. So Vaulted Glass, my best example, the oracles. You don't have to remember what order the oracles go in. You just have to shoot them. So if you see it, shoot it, you win. Then you fight the Templar. Challenge modes in the raids add just that, a nice little challenge to the current raid for the week, and it's a nice trip down nostalgia lane and not as fast as D2 is. If speed and crazy raid mechanics are your thing, then you probably don't want to play a D1 raid. On to another pro, subclasses. Let me first say that I was a Warlock main in D1 and just ran self-res really in any mode, whether it was PvE, PvP, whatever you name it, I'm running self-res. Switching to a Titan or, God forbid, a Hunter was a total change in the way that you played the game. I still think that is true in D1, and the subclasses are at a decent stage. The Defender Titan, clearly the most used subclass in PvE by a landslide, followed by the Sunsinger Warlock, and then probably the Night Stalker Hunter. All of these subclasses, though, have their niche. So like Voidwalkers and Blade Dancers, they have a home in PvP. Blade Dancers have a home in other modes too, like a Crota's End raid, to run sword, stuff like that. They all kind of have a niche that they excel in. And except for one, there are instances and places in the game for you to use them and be really good with them. And so, I'm willing to say least used subclasses in the game right now, probably Striker, Titan, Gunslinger, Hunter, Void, Walker, Warlock. But it's because PvE is kind of harder to find modes in, which I'll talk about later in the video, but that's really what's going on. Let's talk more about self-res though. It is a great addition to the Warlock. In fact, it makes them a viable option. But if you don't die, you never use your super, which I think, don't get me wrong, self-revival, if you didn't know what self-res meant, is a huge advantage. In fact, it's game-breaking. But I find myself never using it because most of the time I don't die. And I'm not saying I'm great at the game, I'm so good, bro, but I don't want to die. I don't put myself in bad situations, Sometimes you're going to die in the game, but if I'm playing like a challenge raid or something like that, I'm trying my best not to die. So if I don't die, I don't use my super, man. And Radiance by itself, you can't just activate. I mean, I guess you could, but you don't want to then because you're like, well, what if I die? In the back of your head. So you're just sitting on your super the whole game. And so I've kind of had, as much as this hurts to say, a change of heart with my Solar Warlock, which kind of sucks, man. I've moved on to Defender Titan. I just feel like it's so much more viable in PvE and has more of a purpose. So if you're running Blessings of Light and you die, or you're about to die, I guess you're about to die, not die, about to die, plop a bubble, you're good. You need to do DPS more, Weapons of Light, pop a bubble, you're good. It's just more all around versatile, and I just feel like Radiance is kind of on the back page of that. I think a lot of people still play the self-res Warlock because they just don't trust themselves. And in D2 especially, if you die in a game mode, people kick you and leave you and say you suck and really make your day, But I've made that move, and I feel like I'm overall 10 times better at the game because I actually have a super that is useful. But I'm still listing that as pros, man. Another pro in the game that I'm going to list is the variety of weapons. So there's a ton of vendors, ton of raid gear, strike-specific loot that's all viable, and you can use it in modes. Let's branch off into strike-specific loot, though. That's such a great feature for the game and gives you a true reason to actually grind the heroic strikes in the game. I miss the gear from those chests after the strikes so much, and I wish that they would bring that back into D2 where you could get, if you kill this boss, you can get this gun and try and chase those perk rolls. That was a fun time in the game. I don't think they're going to, but I wish they would. That brings me into another topic in itself, strikes. They feel so unique and different, and while the goal is obviously the same, it feels, some of them feel like a mini raid and others not so much, but it's overall a great experience doing them. So you can hop into the Nexus Mind Strike, you can hop into the Dark Blade where you're just running around in the dark, you can hop into Omnigul, Saber Strike. All these feel genuinely different, which in D2 is kind of tough because I feel like I'm fighting the Taken all the time and I'm fighting the same enemies in just different locations. And so it kind of gets bland after a while, per se. The heroic strikes in the game are probably the most popular mode in the game, and you can easily find lobbies, especially if you're by yourself. You can usually find 2 others that'll carry you through it if you're not high level, and you can easily, knock those out Be on the lookout for skeleton keys. Those open up these strike-specific chests. These strikes are awesome, man. It's a trip down memory lane, and it's really been a blast for me and my friends. Another pro of this game is its cost effectiveness. So I already mentioned it. I'm not going to get too much into it, but $20 gets you Destiny, the collection. You get all 4 DLCs, and they have Eververse in there, and it was released pre-Fortnite, so you guessed it, the good things. No battle pass, no freaking season pass that you got to level up, and there's no 2 currency system in the game. That stuff drives me absolutely nuts. Like, if you dismantle something from Eververse, you get the currency, you can buy a emote that you could pay for if you want it, or you can just dismantle stuff from you get from the challenge or the treasure of the ages and then use that to get the emote that you want. You don't have to pay money, and it's not like 2 separate currency that one's better because it's money and one's just this that you can use for only these things. It's just like, bro, let us have cool stuff. But that's another pro I'm listing, man. You don't have to deal with 30,000 pop-ups or, hey, welcome back to the game. Check out our store right now, and if you need the newest battle pass, you can get a free exotic weapon from this battle pass. You just have to pay $10. So it's not really free, but you're going to buy it anyway because you're a Destiny fan. I'm kidding. That's the end of my rant there on that. So that kind of sums up the pros on D1, man. Let's talk about what I don't want to talk about now. The cons. For starters, let me just say, if you do not have a friend to play this game with, and you are going to do everything solo, and you want to do high-level stuff or end-game stuff, I wish you the best, partner. The only legit games that I can find where I actually LFG if my buddy's not on, come on Tuesdays, where people on Xbox at least post LFGs to do the nightfalls and other activities. But other than Tuesday, it is very hard to find people to play with, and there's just not a ton of people playing high-level gear. And let's be real, man, people don't want to LFG. They don't want to talk to new people. They want to stay in their little bubble, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You're gaming. That's when you relax. But there's not as many people playing this game, so it's very hard for you, outside of heroic strikes, to find Nightfall people, to find raid people. It's tough. So go into it with an open mind, but I'm telling you now, prepare to be disappointed on that scale. You guys got to remember, it's a 10-year-old game. So most of the player base, the sheeple, have left the game entirely, right? They're on to the next newest shiny object, and they're gone. As much as that hurts to say. In 4 months of me playing, and I've played since September, I've done 1 Vault of Glass successfully, and I completed both challenges. They were very sweaty, the people that I played with, but they were good. They were chill. We got stuff done. That's a con I'm going to say, man. It's a con, dude. It sucks. It's very tough for you. Like, if my friends aren't on, I hop in orbit, and I sit there and just stare at my screen. I'm like, what do I do? So just be ready for that if you're going to make that. If you're going to try and play D1, that's what sucks about it. Just be prepared for that. If you have friends, you can do literally any game mode. If you've got at least one other person, you can do Nightfall, you can do Challenge of Elders, you can do Heroics, you can do whatever except Raid, but you can do all that. So go into that, try to have somebody to play with. Another con of playing D1 today, obviously, lack of updates or events that occur in the game. So there's nothing to look forward to other than the weekly resets. PvP, I think, suffers the most, so it's really kind of dead, if I'm being totally honest. PvP is, you don't have trials, you don't have Iron Banner, you don't have really any game mode to play to find people that are actively searching. So I play the featured mode every week, which sometimes is like Mayhem Rumble or, Control or whatever. And even then, it's pretty tough for me to find a game, especially if I'm by myself. So the only way that I can really enjoy PvP is if me and my boys hop on and there's like 5 of us and we just play against each other. You can also Sparrow Race in there too. Fun fact for you. Sparrow racing is in fact a thing in D1. I strongly recommend it. It's super fun. I just posted about it on my TikTok and my shorts. Go check that out, please. But yeah, man, PvP basically non-existent in the game. So like half the game is out of the question. So, I mean, if you're patient enough and you really want to play a D1 Crucible game, I'm sure if you matchmake for long enough, then you can find a game. But you got to find 12 players. Unless you're playing elimination 6. I don't have the patience for that. I matchmake for like 2 minutes. I'm like, yup, see ya. I haven't even found one other person. That's not what I'm going to do tonight. So that is what it is, man. You're playing half of a game. You're basically playing a single player or a co-op game. You're not playing any PvP. And it sucks because Brother Vance is there, Lord Saladin's there, but there's no updates, and you kind of just have what you have. You can't get any of that gear, none of that. Last thing I'm going to talk about as far as cons, which is weapon balance, subclass balance. There's no updates to this game, guys, so the guns and subclasses will forever stay the way they are, right? So if something like the hard light is in a weakened state and it kind of sucks and is underpowered, then it's going to be sucky and underpowered until they shut the servers off on this game. Subclasses are the same way. I feel like the Void Warlock or the Void Walker sucks booty cheeks. There's no use for him. He's much better in D2, which they've worked on, but there's no use for him in D1, man. Arc Warlock is better in PvP. Self-Res Warlock is better in PvE. This one's just kind of hanging out. Even Void Burn, you're better off going Void Weapons and running Self-Res. Like, Void Walker's that bad, man. I've tried to. I've experimented with it. It sucks. Don't try it. Then you have, like, Defender Titans, Zalo Supercell exotic weapons that are meta weapons, and they're kind of busted. They're going to stay forever busted until the game shuts the servers down. So it's kind of tough, man. It's kind of tough to like understand that and just cope with that. Like, oh, this gun would be great if it just had this, or oh, this gun is so broken. It's going to stay broken, so keep using it. As much as I wish that Bungie would take the time to give this game some love, it's just not going to happen. I'm realist, you know. D1's forever a game that a lot of people, including myself, have a connection to and have made some amazing memories on. And if you want to, you can still do that today. Like, it's not... D1 is not a game where you cannot play anymore because of its dead PvP. Like, you can still, if you have somebody to play with or you're looking for friends and you can make some, dude, it's fun. It is a great experience, but it's not peak Destiny. It's not even close to the absolute beast that it was back in the day, which sucks, man. And it's never going to come back. My old, raggedy, saggy face, saggy boobed personality that is me is never going to have the golden days back, bro. And I got to move on. But it sucks. But I'm still going to play D1. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this list about Destiny 1 in 2025. If you do, side note, want to play D1, please join my D1 LFG Discord server. We got about 130 members in the group and can help you, yes, you, find some new friends to play with so you're not a lonely guardian in the galaxy exploring the stars by yourself, brother. That's going to do it for me. Have a great evening, everybody. Have a great week. Get everything that you need to get done, and I will see you all in the next upload. Bye.